transition.
How about into Alec?
Yeah.
Lose booty.
Oh, book it. Absolutely.
Or do you want something with an Irish bent, like U2 or something? Because we still well with Wobble. I mean, if we're gonna go old school, best school, his original requests, like PA and Dubé, Xerxes or Xenia, Xerxes or Bloomington, the Spinners. He used to like to request Spinner songs by the Philly band Spinners.
Spinners are great.
A couple of suggestions there for you, but lose booty.
Well, I think we can have fun with it because as Alec is about to embark on an international flight, if we can get loose booty in his head over the course of his time.
Yep, Alec is frazzled. When Alec went to texting yesterday, frazzled. Was supposed to be in studio at 10 o'clock, courtesy of Steve's Appliances and stevesappliances.com. Hour later, got confirmation from those, I believe, at The Athletic, helping him with his flights and everything. Can't come in studio, leaving earlier, stopping in O'Hare.
Oh, no.
Kind of a longer layover when there was no layover. So he's through security at Lindbergh Terminal. And he has settled in. He's getting his super special cold coffee right now. And he'll be joining us within the next 15 minutes. He happens to be quite excited.
Vikes Bites!
Vikes Bites.
Brought to you by Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef. You can shop online. Box of meat shows up at your doorstep, which is awesome, by the way. One of my favorite things to get in the mail. And then, of course, Kowalski's, Co-ops, Coburn's locations. They're also proud sponsors of Gophers Athletics. Thousand Hills, we love you. We love our coordinators addressing the media yesterday. We heard a bit of Brian Flores on the back end, but I will play a piece of audio in a moment where he is discussing the development of a couple of players that are making splash plays. But this just kind of drew me in. Wes Phillips, where Wes Phillips, it's not the most energetic or overwhelmingly personality-filled pressers, but you can dig into the content. You can chew on it a bit. And he gave us a meaty one. Speaking of Thousand Hills, about Jordan Mason and how good he is on the outside zone. Let's listen.
I think you have to press for as long as you can to make sure you're setting up the second level. I worked with a coach and it was the first time I had heard it. An offensive line coach said, if the point of attack guy gets short-necked or stopped at the line where we're not getting the stretch, he said, I don't even evaluate the rest of the guys behind the play.
Wow.
Because the intent of the play is to displace guys horizontally and then find that vertical cut. And he understands the scheme. He's obviously been kind of brought up in it. I think he's pretty good in just about any scheme, but he does understand that aspect. And whether it's a tight end on the edge who maybe has the hard block at times, understanding who has the hard block, I've got to press his block, set that thing up before I cut up, or else his defender's going to fall back inside faster. So, you're setting up that hard block, but you're really setting those second level backers and bringing them to the combinations. If you cut back too early, they're going to fall back. They're going to fall back inside. So he's got a knack for that. And then when he gets his pads going downhill, he's a load.
Hey, Wes.
Can you repeat the part of the stuff where you said all about things?
That was, as the kids would say, Wes was in his bag.
He was indeed. Hardcore football.
Yes.
Speaking of Brian Flores, I just mentioned him a minute ago. He ton of things. And 20-minute pressers from Brian Flores are apparently the norm, and he discusses the ins and outs of just about everything. So this is about a minute, let's call it a minute 20, but specifically dialing in, he was asked about Jalen Redmond and Levi Drake Rodriguez, their development, and thinking kind of a year ago where they're trying to find themselves on this team and in this league, and now they're making plays on Sundays that matter.
Yeah, I think both guys, are still in that development phase. I think when you talk about developing a player, a lot of that falls on the player, Is he, training the right way? Is he eating the right way? Is he, how does he meet? How does he walk through? and as a staff, we kind of have some checkpoints, I would say, as far as things we see.
That was 5
in
seconds.
meetings and walkthrough and practice.
Who cares?
That if they're hitting those markers, then
They don't care about
this
the
guy's
mic
got a
being on and
chance
off. I don't care
to
about
develop. And I would
That
say
was 5
Red
seconds.
and Levi both have hit a lot of those markers, and you can kind of see, even a year ago, you could see that they were had the. And the wherewithal is not the word. They had the
Intent?
The
intelligence. They had the physical attributes. They had the things you need to develop, and they were going to work hard enough to do it. And ultimately, that's what we're talking about. Both of these guys, it's very important to them. So they'll do what it takes to get every little bit out of their bodies that they can. I think you're seeing that on the field.
Yeah, you are seeing that on the field. Sorry to cut the defensive coordinator short, but the idea of how deep this front seven could potentially be, we're very excited about the marquee names, right? We're excited about Jonathan Allen. We're excited about Javon Hargrave and what this can mean to the interior pass rush. And meanwhile, we're kind of forgetting about a couple splash plays that Jalen Redmond made last year. Levi Drake Rodriguez drafted late a year and change ago, but still, what can he bring? Get to the final 53, start playing games that count. Both of these guys are showing up not just on the stat sheet, but the eye test. They are passing it. They are flourishing. And a big story of the 2025 Vikings thus far.
Well, because it's part of what has been a dramatic overhaul with the interior of the front seven.
Yeah.
I mean, Harrison Phillips was traded under the cover of darkness, and he was identifiable for being good against the run. But, okay, Hargrave, sweating injury a little bit, I guess. We'll see what the practice report looks like today. But full intent is for him to play this weekend, I would imagine. Then you mentioned the other two, Levi Drake Rodriguez and Jalen Redmond. Redmond is a heck of a find by Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah and his personnel staff about this time last year, about a year ago when he was just kind of languishing, I think, on Carolina's practice squad, but wasn't being used or whatever. So nice hit on Redmond. Then you got Levi Drake Rodriguez, but we're 3 into it now. And I guess I'm going to start watching this a little bit and while in Dublin, but the week in London, I'm going to have a lot of time to do stuff like this. Jonathan Allen, it's in the low-key chats that I have with people at this stage of the season about how certain players are playing. It's with Jonathan Allen, I don't think we have any sacks. We had a blown sack in the Bears game. Hargrave closed on it to get 2.
Yeah.
So there are
Fumble
some
recovery on Sunday.
Thank you. There are some Jonathan Allen moments that are sticking out, but it's in the short conversations that I've had so far, and they've been brief and they have not been voluminous. But I'm hearing him described in a way people would describe Anthony Barr's impact from an outside linebacker standpoint or Ryan Suter's impact as a blue liner.
Yeah.
It's it's got some snobbery to it. It has he does this, and even though he's not drawing this because he's good at this, then they converge on him. That opens up things over here.
It's almost like you'd notice him if he wasn't in the lineup more so because of how he impacts the nuance or the under the covers bits.
Yes, and he's also off injury. So is Will Fries. So is Hargrave. Kelly, the players off season-ending injuries last year. It's I think Hargrave came out of the gate. Bam, there he goes. And maybe the others have too. But when you're a veteran off a season-ending injury, this includes Christian Darrisaw. Just listen to what Kevin O'Connell told us yesterday about the building of the confidence within the individual. I think that's still the case with Jonathan and some other players. So, as it gradually gets better and they have more trust in whatever malady transpired in the previous year, things gradually are getting better. But Allen's role as a tackle/end in the 3-4 hybrid with floaters seems to be that of a team-first approach until other things start happening with the other defensive ends and tackles then it's like, all right, well, watch me go.
Yeah.
So I just can't wait to learn more about it when specifically when we get over to London and we got a lot of time together.
Final Vikes Bite for you, because I know I've confirmed, as you mentioned, Alec did get through security. He even remembered his passport. He's got his neck pillow and blanket with him, and he's ready to rock en route to international games in the upcoming games. But Wes Phillips, speaking of guys who are going to be making the trip that we haven't seen, how about Jordan Addison? Your thoughts, Wes Phillips?
Yeah, I think, much like a lot of guys that come back, whether it's from injury or whatever, I mean, I don't know that you're looking to play him 80 snaps in a game if that's what we were to get. But, we see it now like we have 4 starting receivers with Jordan back. And so, want to keep all those guys fresh, want to use their skill sets, their talents, uniquely, individually with each of those guys, and we feel like all those guys bring something to the table, and Jordan certainly brings a lot. So it'll be great to have him back.
With Jordan Addison returning from suspension, great to have him back. We got 10 TDs last year, bookend and compliment Jefferson the right way. I think initially you're going to get this.
Jalen Naylor back to return the punt.
Oh, wait a second. I hit the wrong one. Hold on.
Naylor retreats, calls for a fair catch, and he muffed it.
No, I hit the. No, that's not.
Did you just predict?
Yeah, no.
A Jalen Naylor buff?
Nope. That's Miles. You're going to get, with Addison back and getting the prime attention like Jefferson, and they got to focus on the run, you're going to get this.
Offsides on Hollins. Cousins throws left end. It's caught Jalen Naylor at the 2015 10-5. Touchdown, Jalen Naylor.
Ooh.
The first touchdown
I like that.
of Jalen Naylor's career makes it 41-9.
Yeah, I think it's time for Jalen Naylor to start scoring on a weekly basis.
Yeah,
and I think it's going to take place because let's see, Jalen Ramsey, you got 18. Darius Slay, actually, you got 18 at the line because we've seen the film and we got to make 18 work around it. And Jalen, you have 3. All right, so that means okay. So who has Jalen? Let's eat, boys.
Yes.
I like Jalen Naylor to start taking off from a touchdown standpoint coming up here in the near future. And we like Alec Lewis each and every time he joins 9 to noon, courtesy of Steve's Appliances. Those were Vikes Bites, and they come with a sponsor provided by
Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef.
10:20. Alec Lewis, athletic around the corner. KFAN. How's Lindbergh Terminal, and do you think it's the best airport in the land? And good morning.
Hey, Paul. How are you?
How you doing?
Yeah, it's a phenomenal airport. Really good airport. I will say, told Nordo this, but it's like the airport is, if you want to learn about how people act in the world, I mean, just go to the airport. It is fascinating to just watch people in here. So it's good. Things are good. This is going to be a long journey. I'm excited for it.
Alec's appearance is courtesy of Steve's Appliances and stevesappliances.com. Save more when you shop locally. And don't forget about the free recycling and the guaranteed low prices. So when do you land in Dublin?
6:10 a.m. on Thursday morning in Dublin, which you could ask me what time that is here, and I am the worst with time zones of anybody you know.
Yeah, it's 6 hours, so it's midnight 10.
Okay. Yeah, I'll probably feel good when I land.
Okay, I mean, let's just get in the weeds here and not bore the audience. But you were so frazzled and flustered when you were texting me yesterday because you felt bad you couldn't come in studio at 10, and I told you it's okay, life happens. But, I mean, was there a late change with your flight? Now you're ending up at O'Hare for like 3 or 4? I mean, like, what's happening right now, Alec?
Yeah, it has been rough, and the audience probably does not need to be consumed with Alec Lewis's travel plans. But let's just say,
I understand.
Keep it very, very short. I learned at 3 p.m. yesterday that I did not have a flight to London. And so you can imagine the hectic nature at which, the frenetic pace at which I was operating yesterday afternoon. It was uncomfortable, high anxiety, but we are in the airport and ready to rock. Croke Park is, I mean, we'll be there soon. I'm excited.
Well, you're so frazzled, you said London. So you found out yesterday you didn't have a flight to Dublin, assumedly. Well, because then, after they play the Steelers this weekend, unless I'm wrong, you're going to need a Dublin to London, then a London back home, right?
No, I'm actually on the ferry that they're sending the equipment over. Yes, so I said it wrong. I have an Aer Lingus flight from here to Dublin, and then I think if things are accurate, which at this rate we're not looking good, I'm then on Aer Lingus from Dublin to London, and if I make it all the way there, it will be a miracle beyond belief. But I have faith in myself to be able to navigate this journey.
All right, so you're making that name up, right? Aer Lingus. That's not really a thing, is it?
Oh, it's absolutely a thing. And I told Nerdo, you're not going to not go to Dublin and not fly Aer Lingus. I mean, we're not. Like, you can't just, I do Delta enough. If I'm not going to do Aer Lingus now, when am I going to do Aer Lingus?
Understandable. So let me ask you this. What are you doing? Okay, so the Vikings play A-Rod and the Steelers. And then, you write your stories, and we all settle in, stuff like that. What are you doing 1:20 a.m. Monday, Ireland time? What are you doing at what? So the game is at 2:30 Dublin time. So now we're going to flip over to Monday. We get to 1:20 a.m. Ireland time. What are you doing at that time?
At 1:20 a.m., I'm going to be sleeping, right? I'm confused. 1:20 a.m. I hope I'm asleep at that point.
Let's get together and watch some Green Bay at Dallas. Oh my God! 1:20 a.m. Green Bay at Dallas, and you're going to be all juiced and jazzed and excited and energized from writing the stories. So. Maybe take a nap or something at 9 or 10 in the night, then 1:20 in the morning. We have the life changer from the Big D.
Well, the crazy thing is, this is one of the best sports weekends of the year. Mm-hmm. You've got the Ryder Cup, you've got Alabama, Georgia, and then you have the NFL slate that is, it's very good. And so I don't know at this point. First of all, if I'm going to get to Dublin, we got to get that clear. But if I do, then at that point, maybe there's a sports bar, maybe your hotel, which I don't even know if they'll let me in there. I'd be willing, but right. I don't know. You at 1:20 a.m. watching the Packers Cowboys. That would be a good story to tell. There's no question.
Well, it'd be fantastic if we could even stay up long enough to watch the first half. Now we have mandatory luggage check-in for like the flight to London Stansted later that day, Dublin to London. So I got that at 8 a.m, but I can deal with that, man. So let's just keep it in mind, and let's get together and maybe watch Green Bay at Dallas 1:20 in the morning, depending on how we feel. Is the marketing director making the trip?
Yes. She is. She's actually going to be meeting in London. Her travel schedule probably more organized than mine, as it typically usually would be. But yeah, she'll be there. I do want to say one more thing on the Dallas Green Bay. I'd probably talk a big game about Green Bay, but I did that last week and they lost, so I probably shouldn't prognosticate the Packers any further.
How bad of a loss for the Packers was that thing at Cleveland? And we're 3 into it, and Green Bay was not the 85 Bears into the Cleveland game, and is not a complete disaster out of the Cleveland game, but fans are going to fan, as the kids say today. How bad of a loss was that?
Yeah, look, it was interesting. I was going through some film and numbers last night on Pittsburgh, and one thing that stood out to me is like Cleveland is playing man coverage and just like single high at a rate that is astronomical. So I haven't watched the film, only the highlights of that game. There is a chance that this Cleveland Jim Schwartz defense is just menacing and very scary. And then you guys, I mean, I got to give you and Nordo credit. You guys, I mean, have talked about Stefanski a lot, and I've been pretty skeptical of that offense, and I've ribbed you guys about Joe Flacco constantly, but they did enough. So I don't think Green Bay folks probably are going to be crazy worried. I think that Cleveland defense is what it is. And then, I mean, just I've thought about this from a Vikings perspective after last week. Like, what happens one week in this league? And I'm not breaking news here. Like, it rarely has any bearing on what's going to happen the next week. And it's just something that I've told myself that I would remind myself of every year, and I forget to do it, and then it hits you, and you remember it again.
Alec Lewis at Alec_Lewis via X. Follow him as he gets to Dublin about midnight our time for the Vikings and Steelers game this weekend, 8:30 a.m. Boom on KFAN. Alec covering it for The Athletic, theathletic.com. All of this courtesy of Steve's Appliances and stevesappliances.com. Speaking of Twitter, Alec tweeted a very cool, diabolical Flores defensive set yesterday or late Monday. J.J. Watt, quote tweeted it, and now nearly 2 million people, 2 million views have found said tweet. So how are you handling the prosperity?
J.J. Watt's probably like, who the hell is this guy? And I'm going to put my stamp on this to just validate that whatever this guy said was real. Honestly, like, I was going through the film of the Vikings win against the Bengals, which it was a win in every stretch of the word. And I mean, you notice this defensive pre-snap where the guys are floating backwards and forwards, and you don't know what coverage is this and that. And I was like, this is too cool and too fun. It looks like poetry in motion not to put it out there. And then the tweet blows up. But yeah, look, you're on to the next tweet. You're on to the next game. You're on to the next practice. That's what it is. You know how it is.
Yeah, stop there. No analysis, please. That was a spectacular response. All right, time for a few more. So you know what? Off that defensive set, seriously, with Harrison Smith back, assumedly they are able in a single play to go from, as the tweet was written, from an all-out blitz look, drop to man coverage, then a Tampa 2 look, then unfurl quarters on one side and cover 2 on the other side after the snap. And that's what it was. I mean, just with Hitman back, you're able to do things like that. Just amazing, right?
Yeah, and I mean, it's funny because I said quarters on one side and cover 2 on the other, but I can't even discern, is it 2-man? Is it, like, are they playing quarters with match principles? Like, and it's funny because I've had conversations with some of the players, and we joke sometimes where they're like, you might be wrong. Like, we might have messed up that coverage, or you might be right, and it might be the coverage you think. Like, it is this deception game that is so hard for opposing coaches, offensive lines, and quarterbacks to discern. Now, the thing about Aaron Rodgers this weekend, just to kind of talk about it a little bit, is this stuff doesn't really fool him. And so it's why last year in New York, the Vikings played a ton of man coverage in that game. I think part of that is just to make him hold the ball, because he's not going to hold it if you give him zone. So how they approach this weekend is interesting. And I just, like, I don't know how much more we'll talk about the game, but I do want to say the biggest thing in this game, by far, without question, is turnovers. The Steelers forced them at a rate comparable to the Vikings, and so ball security will be number one and probably mentioned 17 times on the plane as they fly over there.
I don't know how much time, Alec, you've spent specifically watching the Steelers through those 3 games, but in some ways, however Tomlin, or I think it's Arthur Smith, the OC there now, the way that they handle their offense, it's clear, despite whatever they thought they had with him with the Jets, I'm kind of watching a different Aaron Rodgers, even just a year later, now that he's in Steeltown.
Yeah, they're doing a lot. It's kind of interesting what they're doing with tight ends. They have Jonnu Smith, Pat Freiermuth, and then the Washington kid from Georgia, and they'll use. Darnell Washington, that's it. They'll use these three tight ends, and then sometimes they'll have one of them in the backfield as a fullback. Sometimes they'll spread them out, and it's just, it feels like that keeps some defenses off balance. But the other thing about Aaron Rodgers, I will say, while he is, as Kevin O'Connell called him last year, a supercomputer, and while his arm is still live, like the movement ability is just not even remotely in the stratosphere of what it used to be. And so for me, like, this is such a matchup game. If the Vikings can win up front, and if the corners can potentially be on an island in man coverage and win down the field, then the defense should do what we've all become accustomed to watching this defense do.
Where next week, not after the Steelers game, where do you want to do the Alec Lewis Show podcast next week in London? Maybe we meet in Piccadilly Square because it's cool to say Piccadilly Square.
I was thinking we just go right underneath Big Ben and just record it right there. We're going to have to sort that out. I mean, you guys are staying, I think, in some countryside. I'm down in the city. The traffic is, you want to talk about anxiety inducing. Like, you go 2 miles and it takes 3 hours. And so, we'll figure it out. But Piccadilly is, I don't think I did Piccadilly Square. I might have to get on that, next week if I get there. We'll see.
You'll get there, man. It'll be all good. But, the Alec Lewis Show podcast, do you, so we're going to do something next week, somehow, some way, somewhere. But you got anything popping from Dublin when you get there, or anything at the podcast spot people should know now?
Yeah, gonna do something when I land, probably, and get to the hotel. And I'll probably be as loopy as I've ever been, so who knows what I'll say on that. Probably get some comments from Spearfish and the folks, but we'll do my best. I had a story today on the undertaking that is going abroad, and I talked to Paul Martin, who's the director of travel, and Mike Parson, the equipment guy. I mean, they're sending ferries over there. They got semi-auto trucks. You guys have VIP platinum service after you guys land. I mean, it's this undertaking is unbelievable. So it was interesting to dive into that.
Yeah, I mean, I've known Paul and Chad Lundeen and Chuck Peterson, 3 of the operations staff for multiple decades. Now Milan Burgess and some others are part of it. And Milan, as I told her before the game against Cincinnati this weekend, she was sitting on the bench. I'm like, wow, you just do a really good job, in the weeds with the passports and just everything. They do really, really good work. Doesn't mean it's easy. And it's when you got 2 trips and you're leaving from one European country to another. I mean, it's been complicated, man. I got a lot of respect for that operations staff. Paul Martin and that group have done a lot, and I'm really glad you wrote that story. That's cool. That's posted now, right?
Yeah, that's up now, and it's really, you talk to these guys, and the amount of time that they've allocated now for months to ensure that this thing goes smoothly. It is, Mike Parson, the equipment guy's like, it's almost as if we're going on tour to 2 different locations and need 2 stages. They've taken advanced trips. It's wild. But yeah, that's up now. It was fun to dive into it. And there's a lot of people behind the scenes that make it go, and you just, to be able to, at least give them some play and honor them with the work they put in. It's fun to do it.
Time for 2 more.
Do you sense O'Connell isn't super comfortable, or do you sense O'Connell isn't super happy chatting Wentz, McCarthy, Wentz?
Yeah,
me too.
I just think the way he operates is so today and this week and this game oriented that any question that leads him down the road of hypothetical or prognostication or looking forward, it brings him out of the mindset that he feels he and the team needs to win in the now. So yeah, I'd say he prefers not to probably go there, and I don't even blame him. Like that's what I wrote. Like, he said the conversation's premature, and for now it is, but that doesn't mean we're not going to talk about it, because that is, it's quarterback, it's the NFL, it's kind of how it goes.
Didn't it kind of feel like in some ways too, like I wonder how coaches, because the rumor has been kind of swirling around, not the rumor, but the talker, like, was this a benching in disguise? And when you start going down that road, Alec, you kind of start challenging.
Oh, it's not a talker, it's a rumor.
But okay, rumor is the best way to put it. But I feel like you're kind of challenging the honesty of the coach and the integrity of the coach in some ways when you go down that road. And I'd imagine in combination with, as he put it in his presser, this isn't a question we have to answer today in regard to the injury and who's going to play when, et cetera, that I just wonder if that kind of creates a frustration and ultimately kind of builds a wall around that entire topic, which can it kind of leaves us hanging out to dry, because just at a base level, we want to hear more about how Carson played. We want to hear about updates on the injury to JJ. I just imagine maybe that tweaked the coach a little bit.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, Kevin O'Connell says it many times. I think he said it yesterday on Pat McAfee, but like one of his core principles is just authenticity, and obviously when you're dealing with reporters like I am, or obviously the other writers on the beat or what have you, I mean, at times there's only so much you can say. There's messaging that you're trying to put out there for specific purposes. All understandable. All coaches do it. That's part of their job. And he navigates that aspect of the job as well as, if not maybe better than anybody else. And so, yeah, there's definitely part of that. The thing with the conversation for me, is just like, there's been, I'd say two things. One, I don't really think that in the moment with J.J. McCarthy the first 2 weeks, the performance, if you peel back the tape and look at it, I'm not sure if it's as bad as it felt in the moment. Then I would also say if you look at the tape from week 3 with Carson Wentz, I didn't feel like he was probably as phenomenal as it seems like some of the conversation around him has been. And so I just, it's easy to lean one way or another. It's easy to ride and fall with every week and every performance. But I thought the most interesting aspect of Kevin O'Connell talking about it was talking about, Carson Wentz's ability to play in rhythm, to get the ball out, to have the accurate and requisite footwork and eye placement. And they believe with the system that they've built, if you do that stuff consistently and are accurate consistently, they will move the football. And nothing that we've seen through 3 years would tell you that they're wrong in that belief.
Safe travels, my man, and glad 9 to Noon was able to verbally provide you the therapeutic Davenport of calming love, because you sound very calm and composed and relaxed now. So safe travels. We'll look for the stories and the podcasts and everything, and I will for sure see you over there, maybe even Friday for that practice at something called Sport Park. All right, see you, bud.
Thank you. And I will say, could we get that camera? If we do that Cowboys Packers at 1:30 a.m., get that camera that you guys have in the booth with you and just live stream us watching that game. Right? Yeah. That would be kind of entertaining. Yeah. Anyway, just think about it.
I'd love to. You'd have to define which one, because every season there seems to be another camera in there. So just let me know which one. Let me know which one, and I'll contact Cecil B. DeMadden. And we'll figure out what we can do. Safe travels, brother. Alec Lewis, The Athletic, theathletic.com, courtesy of Steve's Appliances and stevesappliances.com. We're back after.
News to Nord, 9 to Noon, and it's always brought to you by The Casino at Canterbury Park and CanterburyPark.com.
Beef.
As we tip our caps to another wonderful live racing season at Canterbury as it has concluded, we do always try to remind ourselves, you're feeling the felt down in Shakopee at Canterbury every day, all year round. So poker, blackjack, and table games, and then, of course, having sips at Chips and tipping Derek Allen. And today's Wednesday, so I'm giving you a heads up, a day in advance. On Thursdays, you get the Pro Football Pick'em Challenge at Canterbury Park, where all you got to do, you're on your way down there anyway, stop in Shakopee, head into Canterbury, The Casino at Canterbury Park, and you just pick the winners of the football games that weekend. And you're going to have weekly winners, a little walking around money isn't going to hurt you. And then at the end of the season, somebody's going to win free fuel for a year, courtesy of Quick Trip. So there are a myriad ways to win at Canterbury Park. First way to win actually just being there, because it's awesome. So go to CanterburyPark.com for all the details. Sadly, talking myopic viewpoints and pathways of the football season, and excited to see what happens in Dublin and London the next couple of weeks. The Minnesota Lynx are in the WNBA playoffs in the semifinals. Up 1-0 chance, and it looked like it was just easy breezy 2-0 lead in the series. Phoenix Mercury just beat the Lynx out of their own gym in the second half, coming back from a 16-point deficit at the break. And the Lynx previously had been 15-0 in such games when they had a double-digit lead at the half. And they tied, the Phoenix Mercury did, go to OT, win in the overtime session, and they win 89-83. They tied for the largest road comeback victory in playoff history, and now they even up the series. So just an absolute air coming out of Target Center moment for the Lynx, but they head to Phoenix 1-1 now, and that game is at 7 p.m. on Sunday night.
Our 11:05 guest, Lavelle Neal III, columnist for the Star Tribune, and he's ballyhooed. I believe was in attendance last night.
Ooh.
He was tweeting about the game, or he's written a lot about the Lynx of late. And for me, with respect, it's now I was at a charity event Monday night, and I got a chance to sit next to at dinner Rachel Bannum, who plays for the Chicago Sky. Rachel Bannum, sharpshooting, Minnesota basketball immortality, and her husband, Andre Hollins, was a good player for the Golden Gophers like 10, 11, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
So I chatted a lot with Rachel about the WNBA. And, she plays with Angel Reese, and she just has wonderful, wonderful stories from all around the league. What a classy lady Rachel Bannum is. First time I met her, should have gotten the number to have her on 9 to noon for like the WNBA finals or something. However, and again, lo siento, I'm sorry, no tengo tiempo para Diablo. Lost in the myopic nature of
Divine Diablo?
Things on which we focus. By the way, that was a wonderful line you had into the Atlanta game about the oxymoronic nature of that name.
What a name.
I mean, it's a Deablo, but I got it. That was beautiful. All right, 3-2. But it's Indiana, I know, has been without Caitlin Clark a majority of the season. Okay, she's out for the year. That's the identity of the WNBA.
It is.
It's the identity of that association. Well, the Indiana Fever, despite that injury and one other key one, not like Sophie Cunningham, it was another prominent name, whatever, 3-2. Well, they're in the Final Four, and they're 1-1 with the Las Vegas Aces and Asia Wilson.
Yeah.
That's like amazing to me. You can lose that, and then a bunch tune out like me, and then you'll come back when she comes back, and then you'll watch everything. That they've made it to the Final Four despite that polarizing player who's really, really good not playing.
Yeah, it's a good squad.
How about that? I had no idea. Crazy.
To the NFL, we've talked about this, and I actually...
The hell of a take right there. Yeah, it's a good squad. In other words, let's move on to the Guardians. But that was like me the other night, you know?
I do know. I do.
Outside of Sophie Cunningham, I can't name another player on the team.
Neither can I.
Maybe a Boston at center.
Okay.
And I think she's playing.
I'm going to take your word for it.
Yeah, but seriously, just take it at face value, having not watched a game all year.
Oh, Natasha Howard and Aaliyah Boston.
Yeah, having not followed it or watched it all year, but knowing who Caitlin is and how important we would imagine she is. And they make it to the Final Four. That's pretty good.
It is absolutely good. Couple of quick injury nuggets into week 4.
Here we go.
I saw this from Schefter, and Randy actually texted this in, but it is interesting to note. Zach Tom not expected to play Sunday night versus the Cowboys, so watch out for that. He had an oblique injury he suffered in the L at Lake Erie. So with that big primetime game ahead, watch out injury situation for the some beloved, mostly in our side of the things, hated Packers squad. Also, Mike Evans is set to miss a few weeks. He is hurting, and he's got it's classic Mike Evans. He's got a hamstring injury, and the team was 0-3 without him last year. He'll probably still find his way to 1,000 yards once he's ready to rock. But the key for that is we're looking for teams to beat the Eagles here, PA.
Yeah.
The team was 0-3 without Mike Evans a year ago. I think it's Jalen McMillan, who's also hurt. Godwin is still working his way back from his bad injury towards the end of last year.
Yep.
And so I'm hoping it's Baker to Ibuka. And Bucky. We need Bucky Irving to figure it out.
Yeah.
But we need the Bucs to beat Philly this weekend, and they're going to have to do it without Mike Evans.
Down go the Eagles.
Oh my gosh.
This weekend.
Ooh, I dig that.
Bucks money line for those who are so inclined.
Which is going to only get pumped up with this Evans news.
You've heard me say it before. Todd Bowles and the Buccaneers are not afraid of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah.
They played him closely and lost. They played him closely and won. Baker ain't afraid of anything. He's playing at such a high level right now. But I knew the Eagles came back from, what was it, 26-7, something like that?
It was 26-7 at one point, yeah.
So I caught most of the second half of that on NFL Network last night. Man, that was hard work. That was hard work by those Eagles. All right, so now if you can do that and get up to that level and then come back down and travel and get up to the next level for a team that doesn't fear you with a coach who knows how to defend you in Todd Bowles, God bless you. Because they, like I said early in the week, going undefeated matters to these Philadelphia Eagles. Ain't nobody talking about it now. It's a cocksure bit that history is important to Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, those two for sure. So there aren't many shots on the schedule to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. This is one of them. So I don't know, if I had $100, I'd probably put $15, $20 of it on the ML Sunday afternoon.
I dig that. Final thing for you here, and I had approached you about this just off air.
Hold on.
Yes.
So say you and I were out Dublin way.
Okay.
And I got people with whom I'm going to hang, but say it was just you and I.
Yeah.
So we play the Steelers. We get the locker room, buses, just get the whole thing done. Then you settle in, and you say like 8 p.m. Ireland time is when you've settled in, you've eaten the whole thing. That game you're talking about now is on at 9:15, 9:20 p.m. Dublin time.
How good is that going to be?
How great is that going to be? Are you kidding me with that? Find the ML on the road?
Oh,
that's
that
unbelievable.
Is sweet. Absolutely.
I wish you were going.
I wish I was too, but it's team and broadcast only, so that's all good. We'll be back here. We'll be trying to soak in the vibe stateside. Tom Brady trying to defend himself. PA.
Time part 2. Fan line for you at noon. Done at 2, 2:30, or 3.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice
Sunday,
right there.
Sunday fun day.
Be mowing the lawn during a Jalen Hurts game. That's sweet.
The Tom Brady, we talked about this off air, and just initially I'm just thinking to myself, he owns part of the team of the Las Vegas Raiders, and he's an analyst on Fox, and you've mentioned it doesn't click with the HOF as much as it clicks for you with the analysis of Greg Olson, and I tend to agree. But people are getting after him a bit. He says he wrote in this weekly newsletter called Do Your Job that only the paranoid and distrustful believe that there's a conflict in his roles. And he says, I love football at its core. It's a game of principles. With all the success it's given me, I feel I have a moral and ethical duty to the sport, which is why the point where my roles in it intersect is not actually a point of conflict, despite what the paranoid and distrustful might believe. The NFL, after that, because he was seen in the booth week 2, it was Raiders-Chargers, had a headset on. I had some audio. I couldn't find it. Pete Carroll actually kind of talking like, we chat, Chip Kelly in the mix. We chat multiple times a week about football, about life, and just kind of avoided the question about there being a conflict of interest. But the NFL said in a statement that after that game, he didn't violate the rules. They note that Brady is prohibited from going to a team facility for practices or production meetings.
Yep.
Which brings me to this.
That's accurate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he did a Vikings game last year, couldn't do any of that.
What if that's why he's kind of dry and somewhat uninformative at times as an analyst? So he signs the ink to paper to, I think it's a 10-year, $370-some million contract. So he's making $37 million a year. I'm going to be an analyst. Mm-hmm. But then he also signs on to be an owner. For him to be the best analyst, he can't be the owner because he doesn't get to go to the production meetings. So he's going in confident and cocksure, as you would say, with 20-some years of NFL elite HOF, Mount Rushmore of quarterbacking experience and excellence. But the meetings that he doesn't get to go to where he might get a sneaky, sly piece of intel that a Ben Johnson, that this would be a spot for a trick play against an undermanned, underclassed Cowboys secondary. And he can explain the ins and outs and have those conversations with coaches. What
Great
if
point.
he is a subpar analyst?
Great point.
Because he's an owner and can't go to the meetings.
Great point. Like into last game, okay? There weren't many who knew Friday that Sunday, Darrisaw's going to start.
Yep.
And Darrisaw's going to come out.
With the pitch count bit and the whole thing.
Brandell, not Rouse, Brandell's going to come in. And then, as I guess, I reported or shared Audio Network when it happened, that, that he wasn't going to return. That was the intel.
Yeah.
Well, he did return, so the intel ended up changing. But that, before Rappaport somehow learned it on Saturday, and then everybody started going with it. Not the particulars, exactly what I shared.
Right.
But most of it, or some of it, the feel. That's what you're talking about right there. I mean, it's I gotta imagine. I mean, it potentially is so seedy because, okay, if he can't go to practices, like I saw Tony Romo after Buffalo Wild Wings Maplewood zip down to the practice. Well, there's Tony Romo and the entire, I don't think Joe Buck was there, but the entire crew doing what you're saying.
Yeah.
Watching practice, taking notes.
Was Nance there?
Nance, thank you.
Okay, but he wouldn't. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't believe Nance was there.
Okay.
Thank you for that. But he might have been. I might have just missed him. Okay, well, that's what he's missing. In these production meetings, it's by faith. I mean, not everybody shares the same way, but that's where if Jefferson's going to throw a pass, you probably know it. If Darrisaw's going to leave and Brandell's going to, you probably know it, so that it's called background.
Yep.
So that you can be ready for it. And so then missing out on that would impact the call, unless you have access to pretty much everybody you need in the NFL because you're Tom Brady, and then you can sneakily text and get most of what you need. But maybe people are pulling back on that because end of the equation, if I were to cast a guess as to two things that mattered most to Tom Brady, and I mean of everything possible that could mean 10 of 10, simply by what I've heard from him or of him, it would be winning football games. I think he's 10% owner of the Raiders, and money. Those two right there, 1 and 1A. Well, if the Raiders are good and he's doing a game where I'm working with a team that might eventually see them in the playoffs, I mean, now I have a little distraction within my building because now I got to make sure everybody who knows Tom and they have numbers, that we're not sharing. Nothing. Zero. Nothing. I don't want to have to think about that into a big game, man.
No, that's a good point.
It's stuff like that, but I don't get to hear these analysts frequently, specifically when the Vikings play at noon. I miss everything in the morning and 3/4 of what's in the afternoon. So I never really had listened to Greg Olsen that closely like I did last night. I think he's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I'd heard him in his first year or two, and I thought he was okay. Man, since he got demoted, he's really, really firing bullets with this cat, Joe Davis, who's a good box, too. And I haven't heard a lot of him. So that team right there is outstanding.
Oh, he's just waiting for something weird to happen and Brady gets kicked and he's back in the driver's seat again.
He might be the best TV football analyst going because I like him better than Tony Romo also.
Tony Romo is, I think he's settled into a higher quality role. There were the big ups early on.
Yeah, I like Collinsworth,
and then
too.
there was swinging and missing. And Romo, I enjoy his energy.
Yeah, me too.
And I actually really like Collinsworth. People dig in. He's wrong. You know nothing about our team. I get that. It's kind of a fly-by-night affair with the national broadcast bits. I just like Collinsworth.
Well, I don't. If anybody's saying, like, from a Viking standpoint, he doesn't know anything about our team, the few Fridays ago after a feast, well, there's Tirico and Melissa Stark and Collinsworth at the Friday practice.
Yeah.
So I talked to both Tirico and Collinsworth, mostly Tirico, for about 20, 25 minutes. I can just tell you right now, from what Collinsworth was talking about and writing down, he cares about the layered nuance of Miles Price's punt returning and kick returning at Indiana or Texas Tech. what he did in the preseason to win, what you like about it now.
Right.
So Collinsworth he's a lawyer by trade. He's super detailed and informative.
As News du Nord, brought to you by The Casino at CanterburyPark.com.
Let's mix it up with the columnist Lavelli Neal III, Star Tribune, StarTribune.com. That's next. And this is 9 to noon.